We're going to explore a Montana event today that gets bigger every year.
Are you quite certain, Mr. Quigley, that you wouldn't like the bucket a bit closer?
It has its roots in a classic Hollywood movie whose time period fits right into all the adventures we have on this channel. So you guys know we spent a year restoring this 1889 homestead house. Lots of weathered boards and square nails. But today we're headed to a place in the middle of nowhere, through wind and hail, where people are keeping alive the skills, the physical hands-on knowledge of a way of life that was harder, yes, but very beautiful. It's not a strict reenactment, but it's not fully modern either. This is the 1800s in one very specific way: black powder.
Target hit.
Target hit.
This is the Quigley.
Target hit.
Now count the seconds from when you hear that bullet start to fly and when you hear it hit.
Target hit.
The spotters can actually see it hit the target before the sound waves get back to us. It can be up to 4 to 5 seconds from firing to hitting the target. And that's because for as powerful as these big historic rifles are, these targets are incredibly far away. 1,000 yards, then 800 yards, 600, 300, and at the end there's an offhand, true to the Quigley movie shot that only the wildest of shooters can hit. This is the Quigley Shoot. Now, one of my favorite movies of all time, with Tom Selleck in it, has come to life today in a remote ranch in Montana. There are Australians here.
Well, we're both from New South Wales on the East Coast.
Men and women from every state in the country, Canadians, even kids shooting incredibly powerful historic rifles. But it's not just any rifles, and it's definitely not any Colts.
You can actually, if you're right behind the shooter, when you're spotting someone, you can see the round through the air, all the way to the target. Yep.
Well, they're pretty good size.
Oh, they're all the way up to 600 grain.
Oh my God.
Traveling anywhere from, I would say, 1175 to 1300 feet per second.
Wow. These precision tools date to the 1870s through about the 1890s, when black powder was the revolution of the day. Before this, guns were much more primitive. These new icons of technological innovation became legendary. And it took a man with skill to use them properly.
Legendary shot.
You know your weapons. It's the lever-action breech loader. Usual barrel length's 30 inches. This one has an extra 4. It's converted to use a special 45 caliber 110 grain metal cartridge with a 540 grain paper patch bullet. It's fitted with double set triggers and a vernier sight. It's marked up to 1,200 yards. This one shoots a mite further.
An experimental weapon with experimental ammunition.
You could call it that.
Let's experiment.
Target hit.
Target hit.
Now, some of what you're seeing today are true originals with original sights, a badge of honor amongst shooters. And some are beautiful, highly detailed modern replicas, many made right here in Montana by Shiloh or the C.Sharps company out of Big Timber, Montana. In fact, the original Quigley rifles for the movie were made in Big Timber years ago, and the tradition continues today. We caught up with Zach from the C.Sharps company, who told us a story that puts these guns smack dab into a major event in American Wild West history. A tale of survival with Custer's last stand. This is the gun that kept its owner alive.
So we should talk about this gun, because this is Montana history. It's called the 1st Sergeant Ryan. It's an 1874 Sharps. So the story, John Ryan was from Massachusetts. He served in the Civil War. He ultimately chose to re-enlist with the 7th Cavalry. Came out west, went on a bunch of campaigns with Custer. He privately purchased a 15-pound Sharps rifle that was scoped in 4570, the government's new standard cartridge. He survived the battle, the 3 days of it, and he used his Sharps throughout and has documented it using it, and so he was effectively able to suppress fire from ranges that the carbines couldn't touch. When he survives the battle, he's the one that buries George Custer and his brother in the same grave. Original rifle's lost to history because he sold it after he left the Army. So what we've done is replicated what's roughly a 15-pound gun, 4570. It would have been made in Hartford, Connecticut, 30-inch, rust blued like the originals were, pack hardened like the originals were, straight grain walnut like most guns were that came out. In fact, serial number 1, which goes with this painting, is out there shooting on the line today.
Now, I thought Custer and all of his men died at the Battle of Little Bighorn. And that, in one sense, is true. Although 5 companies were destroyed, that wasn't all of Custer's men. The greater part of Custer's command did survive, but not without a desperate fight that lasted days. Now, Custer's smaller group all fought to their deaths against a united force of Sioux and Cheyenne, who strategically cut him and his men off from the rest of the companies. But an enlisted soldier named First Sergeant John Ryan survived. He was known to be the only 7th Cavalryman with enough sense to carry a Sharps. But Ryan had gotten himself into a bit of trouble with the military. Ryan had been court-martialed and reduced in ranks just before marching into this death trap of a battle. But his gun, with its ability to shoot beyond the other rifles and to be deadly accurate, is credited with keeping him and many of his men alive that day. Now, he wasn't an officer, so his heroism was glossed over in many of the history books of old. But this painting and limited run of replica rifles honors this era of adventure and fight for survival. This truly was a moment in American history and a changing of the old times into the modern era. The men and women who come out to the Quigley every year on Father's Day to shoot and keep the traditions of old alive, well, they are marking an incredible time period in history when the whole world changed. And this isn't just an American thing. This time period resonates worldwide.
Well, we're both from New South Wales on the east coast.
Probably about 40 minutes from the coastline.
What's gun culture like over there? It's strict, right?
Very strict, yeah. You got very specific reasons to own a firearm. It's either target shooting or hunting reasons. Started saving all year and we come.
Very social week this week, so we haven't been overly constructive with the reloading, but we haven't shot that much.
Yeah.
Still having a ball. Sort of 20% shooting, 80% social gathering.
Now, we found out about the Quigley through the comments section of our videos. Frank found us. He watched our adventures in Montana history and gave us the friendly encouragement we needed to drive out to this remote spot. And it's not the first time he's done this.
And Camilla from Saskatchewan. Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
So he gave us directions, and we started to follow the directions. He said, follow us. And then halfway out in a dirt road in the middle of nowhere, he can't see anybody, he pulls over the side. And I said to my husband, he walks out of that truck with a gun. I said, I'm going to kill him. And Frank said, are you guys camping with anybody? We said, no. He said, you want to camp with us? And Don said, sure. So I put the window back up, and I said, we're going to die. This is the weekend we don't go home. But we didn't. Here we are.
No, and since then, every year they come down a couple of days early and they stay at my place.
So
and we became good friends.
Our new friend Frank is an old school hunter and has a Montana wild game cookbook he wrote that's available in our online store. Click the link to check it out. Now, Tom Selleck may not have shown up this year, although he should, because I can't think of many great movies that have inspired this sort of annual roundup and presence. I mean, he could be a king out here. But even without Tom, the love of history, fine tools, and camaraderie marches forward every year.
There's people from everywhere, New York, Idaho, what's that one? Indiana, Washington. There's actually more people not from Montana here.
I wish I could have stayed longer because we met some of the most lovely people that day. But with little kids and lots of miles to drive, plans are kept short and sweet. Going to the Quigley, even for a brief period of time, it showed me a whole nother world. It's a world we explore every week here in the 1889 Homestead House. We'll be lighting the campfire, getting out the cast iron Dutch ovens, and getting to work making a meal for the whole family. So if you guys want to see an old 1800s recipe come to life out here on the range, click that subscribe button and meet us in the cabin next week. Cheers!
Told you, only my Roy could hit a coyote from that distance.